There are so many great things to see and do in Yellowstone that it's impossible to boil it down to the top 10. But we're going to try anyway. We're Matt and Cheryl, and we write travel guides for Yellowstone and other great places in the West. We will cover the main sites for sure, but this isn't just about listing off the sites. We'll try to provide you an idea of what the experience of visiting Yellowstone is like. So without further ado, here's our Yellowstone top 10 list. Just make sure to comment and let us know which of your favorites we left off. Let's kick it off with one of the most unique things about Yellowstone: bison jams. It happens all the time. You're driving down the road to your next destination when some inconsiderate buffaloes walk across the road, taking their sweet time, even stopping to check out the scenery. Meanwhile, the vehicles back up forever. Sometimes we'll get out of our vehicle and stretch our legs or throw the ball a little bit. Sometimes a park ranger will roll in with their special horn to try to move them along. All right, come on guys. This is a rite of passage. If you haven't gotten in a buffalo jam, you can't say you've done Yellowstone properly. These are all the places I can remember getting stuck in a bison jam. Also, I use bison and buffalo interchangeably just to annoy the people who say you can't call them buffalo. Try calling Buffalo Bill Cody Bison Bill Cody. It's just not the same. Oh, you hosers shot the gap on me. Next up is something I've recently discovered: the joy of biking in Yellowstone. While not really known as a biking park, there are some great ways to enjoy the park on two wheels. First, in April, when the park is waking from its winter slumber and the roads are mostly, but not completely plowed, one road is open to bikers only for 2 weeks. This also happens in the fall, with a few more roads as options. Note that the northern road is open year-round to bikers and vehicles. Second, there are several shorter trails throughout the park for bikers. What I like about these trails is that they get to some sites that might not be worth the hike, but are worth the relatively short bike ride. I biked to Natural Bridge, which was fun to walk across. I also biked to Lone Star Geyser, which was a lovely ride along a river and through some meadows. Seeing the geyser erupt at the end was the perfect reward. Biking, particularly e-biking, is one of our new favorite ways to explore anywhere we are visiting. Next up is Yellowstone Lake. According to the Park Service, this is the largest high elevation lake in the country, with high elevation being defined as over 7,000 feet. The lake is 20 miles long and 14 miles wide. It's lined with geysers, and some geysers can even be found in the lake. It's also a great place to see wildlife. We've seen bears, elk, and bison here quite often. Due to the elevation, it's always cold. It freezes over completely in the winter, and in the summer it's about 41 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 Celsius. It has the largest population of wild cutthroat trout in North America, but these are being attacked by lake trout, which were improperly introduced years ago. Those who fish here must return the cutthroat and keep the lake trout. I did a boat tour of the lake here a few years ago, and you can see how rough the waters are. From the boat, we could see Lake Yellowstone Hotel, a charming hotel painted yellow for obvious reasons. Also, we saw a wrecked ship out in the lake. What in the world is a wrecked ship doing stranded in Yellowstone Lake? It's the result of an early tour guide operator who was notorious for being a nuisance to the Park Service. The boat tour operator was named E.C. Waters. His license was finally ripped from him by the Park Service, and he left his large ship, which he named after himself, in the lake. It's now protected as a historic relic. Last year, Cheryl tried kayaking on the lake. She absolutely loved it for about 5 minutes. That's when a storm looked like it might be rolling in, and the overly cautious tour provider canceled the ride. Our consolation prize was eating at the lake house with beautiful sunset views of the lake while we scarfed down tacos. Up next is random geyser eruptions. Did you know that in the entire world there are about 1,000 geysers, and that Yellowstone has about half of them? They are found all over the park. They are found along the road, in lakes, in rivers, and in something called geyser basins. These are just open areas where some geysers are clumped together. Trees can't grow here, so they provide some nice open vistas in an otherwise densely forested park. These geyser basins may scare away the trees, but not the bison. I mean, buffalo, who especially enjoy them in the winter. One of the serendipitous joys of Yellowstone is seeing a random geyser erupt. We experience this almost every time we visit. We've even been sprayed by them several times. This little joyful thing is called Cliff Geyser. Lion Geyser got us last year. Fountain Geyser once got us as well. One of our favorites is Riverside Geyser, which sprays into the river in summer and in winter. The Park Service is nice enough to let these run year-round. The most famous, of course, is Old Faithful, and hot take here, it's still my favorite. Erupting every 60 to 90 minutes, and at 180 feet tall, it has the best combination of height, beauty, predictability, and frequency. Up next is the Old West Cookout. We've done a lot of cookouts in several national parks and other places in the West, and this one is still our favorite. Hop on a yellow stagecoach that is reminiscent of the early stagecoaches that carried tourists through the park. Then head out into Pleasant Valley, where Teddy Roosevelt once camped when he visited Yellowstone while President of the United States. Then enjoy a steak dinner with all the fixins, while enjoying cowboy songs, cowboy coffee, and cowboy seconds. Have as much food as you'd like. This valley was once called Yancey's Hole after an early hotel operator named John Yancey. The hotel burned down and they built another one nearby. Did they name it after him? No. They went with the more popular Roosevelt instead. Up next is to visit Yellowstone in the winter. We did this in February one year and nearly froze to death. We could never make it in Canada. Anyway, it was an entirely different experience. The park is virtually empty, and almost all the roads are turned into snow roads, accessible only by way of a snow coach or snowmobile. We rode the snow coach to Old Faithful, where we spent the night at the Old Faithful Snow Lodge. We ate a nice dinner in the Obsidian dining room, spent some time by the cozy fireplace, and skated on the little ice rink out back. We also did a really nice snowshoe tour, which took us into the forest where we ran into a bison, forcing us to trailblaze a new path back. We also walked on the snow-packed boardwalks through the geysers. Speaking of, up next are boardwalks. When you visit Yellowstone, you'll walk on boardwalks. Every time we visit, the first time we step on a boardwalk, we look at each other and say, we're back in Yellowstone. These are primarily set up to avoid stepping through the fragile crust and getting burned by a geyser. Under no circumstances are you to leave the boardwalk and get close to a geyser. Even the bison know to stay on the boardwalks. Look at this buffalo on the boardwalk. But that doesn't stop some people from leaving the boardwalks for perfectly valid reasons, at least in their minds, such as peeing into Old Faithful or getting that perfect shot. Some think that by staying on the boardwalk, they will have the right of way. I don't know about you, but I think if a buffalo wants to cross the boardwalk in front of me, I'm going to give him plenty of space. Up next is roadside waterfalls. These are what we call high-value, low-effort attractions. Just get out of your car and walk to one of several unique waterfalls. Gibbon Falls splays out wide as it falls into Madison Valley. Undine Falls makes a few tall and narrow drops. As does Kepler Cascades. But our favorite is the upper falls of the Yellowstone. Here, the Yellowstone River picks up steam as it flows south. Then it makes a hard right before roaring over the edge and producing a nice little rainbow for us. This can be seen from several different places, including directly across the waterfall, as well as right next to it, where you can really feel its power. If you like waterfalls, Yellowstone is the place for you. Up next are 2 activities that will help you get the essence of Yellowstone: camping and picnics. Both of these are great ways to connect with nature.
There are 12 campgrounds and 2,000 campsites.
Since the park is huge, this is a great, affordable way to stay inside the park where you're close to the action. And when I say action, I mean the buffalo. They might just come in and stake their claim to the outhouse. I camped here last night at Bridge Bay Campground, and check it out. We've got a couple of bison, actually. There's a couple of them just roaming around the campground. This is Yellowstone for you. Like the Boardwalks, my rule is, if they want it, they can have it. We like attending the nighttime ranger programs in the amphitheaters, roasting marshmallows, and taking a morning walk to a nearby river. Even if you aren't camping, you can still get a similar experience just by stopping at one of several established picnic sites. Here again, they are often located alongside a river. They'll help you get away from the crowded restaurants with bad food, and you might see something cool like the time we saw a pelican fishing in the river, or the time we played baseball with buffalo dung. Up next is wildlife spotting. Wildlife roam the entire massive park. Elk rule the roost in Mammoth, where they might join your picnic. The bucks are most often seen out in the valleys, where people seem to think they would like a friend. Wolves are best spotted much earlier than I'd like to get up. You don't need to spot the wolves, just the wolf watchers who know where the wolves' dens are. Binoculars won't do. You'll need a scope, which you can rent in nearby Gardner, Montana. The grand prize, of course, is to see a bear. In the old days, when it was okay to feed the bears, it was a guarantee you'd see one. Nowadays, feeding the bears will land you in jail with a $5,000 fine. The best valleys to see wildlife are Lamar Valley and Hayden Valley, though we have seen all of the animals in nearly every section of the park. Also, can you spot the profile of the bear's face in the park map? Up next is the magnificent Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. This canyon merges all that is special about Yellowstone. The park essentially got its name from the yellow walls of the canyon. The walls are yellow because they are volcanic ash that currently have geothermal activity. Basically, the walls are on fire from the geyser activity, which has tinted them yellow and red. The canyon is carved by the Yellowstone River, which flows north from Yellowstone Lake and goes over the upper falls, then takes another right and drops over the lower falls. The lower falls of the Yellowstone fall 300 majestic feet into the canyon. The canyon can be seen from several different viewpoints. Artist Point provides the best straight view of the canyon with the falls in the background. A short but steep hike leads down to the brink of the lower falls, where we can get a good look at the water flowing off the edge with the awesome canyon beyond. This is Yellowstone's finest. If you want to learn more about visiting Yellowstone, check out this video. And if you want to see what it's like to visit Yellowstone, click on this video. Thanks for watching.